one thing that we're going to be discussing this week is the sixth, seventh, and eighth limbed path of yoga. And if you've already joined me for classes this week, you already have the information. But the sixth one is dharana, which is concentration. It's concentration, and that works as a way to focus your mind. And the point of dharana is to focus on one thing at a time. And I know we tend to, pat ourselves on the back, thinking we're good with multitasking, but it's been scientifically proven that the mind really should just stay focused on one thing. So when we're doing our postures, you may be reminded with certain types of alignment, not really in yin, but in other active styles, that would be your point of focus. If you're being instructed to return to your breath or to breathe a certain way, then your focus goes to the breath. If it's a mantra or an affirmation, you want to focus on that. But sustained concentration leads to the open door of meditation. So it's the sustained focus of a mantra, the sustained focus of alignment, the sustained focus of breath for however long it takes. So the more experienced you are with meditation, the quicker it is to drop in. For instance, I'll share a little story. I've been still teaching live at Unity Yoga Room, and it's kind of close to where I live in Mount Juliet. And we've had a few new people coming into the studio just because, they're getting vaccinated, or, they're feeling better about the numbers, or their wives have brought them in. And this one particular person is a man whose wife has been a diehard yogi, and he's now participating in the classes. And he comes with her, and he comes by himself. So he's really getting into it. And he mentioned to me, he took my workshop on Sunday, and I had played one of my guided meditations, one of the ones that I had recorded, and it was probably 15, 16 minutes in length. And he absolutely loved it because it guided him and gave him something to focus on. Yesterday, he came to my evening class, it was the same gentle restorative that I offered you guys yesterday that I taught there. And last night I left them alone in silence. And obviously that is a more advanced meditation. And he told me afterward, like, one of the ladies sitting next to him meditates every day, and she was blissed out. She was like, oh my goodness, that was the best meditation ever. And then of course he's walking away going, it was so much easier the other day when you talked us through it. And so I was explaining to him, like, yes, it's challenging in the beginning, and you do need guidance in the beginning, but the more experience you gain, just like with any other thing you practice, it gets easier and easier to drop in, to the point where you can just close your eyes and you're in it, or you can take just one breath and you're in it, or you can recite that mantra 3 times and you're in it. So for each person on each given day, it's going to, take a different sustained amount of focus. It may be brief, it may be elongated. But once you're in the meditation, then the meditation can then open up the doorway to samadhi, which is the final stage on the 8-limb path of yoga. And remember, the goal of yoga is complete freedom. And so in that space of samadhi, and I mentioned yesterday, it's really hard to describe in words what samadhi is. You really have to have the experience. But something that I didn't mention yesterday that I'm thinking about now is the fact that we're free. We're free of those jumbled thoughts. We're free of those judgments, negative thinking, attachments, expectations. We're free of the confines or the restrictions of the body, or the limitations that we have developed in our heart or mind through this lifetime. So we're looking for that freedom, and in that freedom is profound peace. Within that freedom and that experience of spaciousness, you have an opportunity to experience ultimate union, which is the other goal. That's where we feel free, when we are connected and embedded with source energy, which basically is the divine or God's presence. Then what else do we need? Then it's like perfection in that moment. And that's the glimpse or the taste of what we get in meditation. And unfortunately, being human on this human plane, we can't sustain the samadhi, even though in India, they say some of the saints or gurus actually do sustain samadhi, but I would beg to differ on that one because stories are coming out about these particular gurus who actually were tainted in their humanness. So let's go ahead and start on the mat. We're going to be really yin today. I don't think I'm planning on using props other than maybe a bolster. All right. So we're going to start actually on our backs. And once we're on our back, we're actually going to get into the first physical pose. So if you extend your body all the way, so create the morning stretch. So your legs are reaching forward, your arms are stretching overhead. And we'll go ahead and slide the feet over to the top right corner of the mat. And then we'll swerve the upper body to the back right corner of your mat. Your shoulder blades stay connected to the ground, and so does your seat. Close and rest your eyes so you can focus on what you're feeling and experiencing in your physical body. So notice the openness on the left side. Notice where you feel sensation, perhaps in your outer hip, perhaps in your waist, perhaps in your side ribs. Now that you have created the shape, put your concentration now on your breath. Feel the side body swelling as you inhale. And feel it soften on the exhale. And go ahead and use the remainder of this time in this pose to focus on your breath. Remembering the breath helps with sensory control. Sensory control lessens the distractions to aid our focus. From Banana Asana, inhale, you're gonna line up your body in a straight line again, bringing the feet and the arms back to where you started in the morning stretch. And then go ahead and reach out through those limbs, making it a little bit more active. And then go ahead and slide the feet over to the left front corner of the mat. And the upper body will sway to the upper left corner of the mat. So it's called banana asana, but we're actually creating the crescent moon shape. I posted an abbreviated class of the workshop that I did on Sunday. It was the Blissful Flow for Monday, and I put it up on the YouTube channel. And I was talking about some of the main ancient sacred symbols that are still around today. Some of the ones that have been adopted by religion, as well as certain nations. And one of the symbols was the crescent moon. The crescent moon can represent a state of consciousness. It also represents the divine feminine, as well as life cycles. So as you're holding this side of this pose, you can continue to breathe in and out through the nose the same way, but allow your mind to be a little contemplative. We are going through another shift energetically, moving out of the Piscean energy to the Aries energy. And the Aries energy is more spontaneous. Aries energy initiates things. It wants to lead, be a leader somehow. It brings in confidence and courage. So at the onstart of this particular year, it's been stirring, not as stirring as it was last year with media and politics necessarily, but it's still being stirred nonetheless. A lot of people are feeling the stirrings of insecurity. But the good news is that energy is moving out and the new energy is moving in. And it's going to encourage us to take us forward into motion. So be contemplative for a moment. Are you having any creative ideas? Are you feeling the need to begin a new project? Are you feeling an inner calling to lead something or someone? And if so, this next following week would be the perfect time to begin. On your next inhale, let's go ahead and align our bodies back to neutral. We'll keep the right leg as is, but we're going to draw the left knee in towards the upper body. We're going to do half happy baby pose. So if you catch that foot with your hand, let the knee splay off to your left side. And you're in control of how much or little you actually pull that foot down in order to work into your hip. Now, since this is yin, right, check in because the right leg may want to bend. You may want to flatten the foot to the ground. Maybe that alleviates a little sensation in the hip that was becoming too much. And if it intensifies anymore, you can always sink the foot down to the inner thigh and do reclined tree pose instead. So know that you have options. Regardless of which pose you chose, I want you to close your eyes. And the dharana, or the concentration for this pose, is just going to be feeling and listening to this sensation. Noticing if it increases or decreases. Noticing whether or not you need to do less or add in more. So just focus on sensation. One thing I love about yin is it's a little bit more naturally meditative since we hold it in stillness, maximize our breath. Let's go ahead and release the left leg, send it forward and out. Draw the right knee in, tag a hold of the foot, and open it up to half happy baby pose. Remembering the left leg can stay the same or it can bend. If the sensation builds too much in the right side, you can always do reclined tree. If the sensation is no longer increasing, maximize your breath. Maybe being in the question, is this side easier or harder than the other? Maybe being the question, what am I holding here that I need to release? And sometimes it's the initial answer that is your intuition. A lady asked me last night after class, she said, I'm having the worst pain that comes up from my outer ankle and calf. It crosses over my knee and then it runs up my thigh. What could that be? Well, it didn't run with an energetic channel. So I thought it was muscular, some sort of muscular misalignment or misfiring. And then she said, I think it has to do with my wreck because when I initially asked you what it was, I had a flash of the car wreck I had a year ago. And I was like, well, if that was your flash, then that's your answer. You asked and the answer came. And she said, yeah, but that was a year ago. Do you think my body is still recovering? I said, absolutely. Because any type of accident like that is trauma. And it takes time for the body to release trauma. So when you get into a quiet, contemplative, and more meditative space, it is the perfect time to ask the questions and then surrender and trust the answer you receive. All right, let's release that side. Let's plant the right foot to the floor, and we're going to take the left ankle to cross over the right knee. We'll pick up the right foot to lace the hands behind the thigh. Eye the needle pose. So we always focus on the shape, and there's not too much alignment cues in yin. So we'll skip the alignment cues and go into the sensation of it. Because in yin, we want to move to about 80% sensation, not 100. And there may be days where you feel like you need to stack your right foot on a block or bolster instead of gripping it with your hands, and that's okay. There may be days where instead of sustaining the pose in stillness, that you need more movement. And this could be if you're feeling really arthritic. That's one example. And if that's the case, you can add in movement by squeezing more on the exhale and then releasing your grip on the inhale. Relaxed grip on the inhale, pulling and squeezing in on the exhale. So that could be your little pulsation, your little micro movements, if you need it. Now release your hands, set the right foot back to the ground, then stamp your left foot beside it. Pick up your right ankle, cross it over the knee. Check in, maybe this is all you need. Maybe the foot being rested on a prop, or maybe linking the fingers together behind your thigh. So I love seeing as yogis progress in their journey of getting to know themselves and getting to know like the real, or what I like to call the big yoga. I love seeing beginners like come into the practice, or people in the honeymoon phase that are trying every fancy pose and trying to take every pose deeper. And then you can tell that it clicks and that they really get it when they finally come in one day to class and they choose to modify. When they choose to let go of ambition or challenge or trying to prove anything or being competitive, you can tell they're just really starting to connect to their body and to the true intention of this work. Release your grip. Set your left foot to the floor for now. Cross your legs completely, knee over knee, thigh to thigh, and open your arms out shoulder height. Now, if you want to work more specifically into the low back, if you feel restricted in the upper part of the back, all you have to do is rotate to the outer edge of your left foot. And if it starts to crank you too much in the twist, you can always plug the bolster under the knee. Like Ringo's hip is under my knees right now. If you want it to work up through your mid and upper back, you'll float your feet off the floor, tucking the knees higher in towards your upper body, and then allow the knees to roll. Your right foot can work as a kickstand to keep the knees elevated if it's too much for the knees to sink. But try to roll to the inside of the right foot so the knees drape lower. And just see how it feels. We never know unless we experiment first. You can always, again, plug the bolster under the knees to make it a little bit more restorative, where gravity's not consistently pulling it down. And then, of course, close your eyes. And focus on breathing in and out through your nose. Inhale, draw the knees back to center, uncross the legs. You have all of those same choices on the other side. So let's first hook the left leg over the right, choosing if you need to keep that foot on the floor and just rotate the knees over, determining if you need a prop under the knees for support, or if you'd like to float the feet, tuck the knees in higher to roll over to one side. And please acknowledge each side is different and unique. So that same positioning that you tried on one side that felt lovely may not quite be as lovely to the second. Channel the breath up and down the left side of your body. Remember to set your gaze towards the mind's eye. All of these will help lead us towards that inner meditative state. Inhale, let's come out of the twist. And that's a deeper twist with the legs crossed over. So let's uncross the legs, hug both knees in just to stretch out that low back, because that definitely gives you more than the simpler version with knees stacked. Let's just nurture the back a moment. In fact, if you want to straighten the arms, hands to knees, and circle the knees, it gives a nice little massage. And then reverse it. And then roll to one side and come on up. We're going to be going into half shoelace with the left leg straight and the right leg laying over top of it. And I know sometimes when we cross the foot over, we kind of stick, right? Because it's a sticky mat, the sole of the foot kind of sticks to it. So if you just heel toe it, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, usually that helps. You can also grab the underside of your heel and calf and kind of carry it across. We're going to lift the arms up and lace the fingers above. And as we exhale, we're going to fold. Now, if your hands have access to the foot, they can stay. But most people, and what I enjoy with Yin, because I don't like that full reach with Yin personally, I like to let the hands fall away by the wayside, and then I can round the back. Once you find your edge or slightly behind that edge of flexibility, turn back to your breath. Breathe into your back body. As you're continuing to breathe in and out through the nose, imagine your body is like a honeycomb, very porous. It's a dried honeycomb, no liquid yet, no honey left behind. Our fascia that overlays the muscle, the connective tissue, is often compared to being like cheesecloth. You know what cheesecloth looks like. It has little holes punctured all through it. Very similar to a honeycomb. And that's what we're trying to create. And then imagine that if you're stepping into or getting a glimpse of that samadhi, that great liberator, that profound peace or ultimate union, then that's like when the honey comes into the honeycomb. That's when the divine nectar runs through the fascia. Now, on your next inhale, you're going to slowly come up. And I turn my back to you so that you can see a little easier way to come into shoelace legs or Gobakasana legs. If you just lean to your left and slide or walk that left foot back, then the feet are more or less alongside your thighs. And if that's too much, just keep your left leg straight. I'm going to keep my back turned to you. We're going to cross the arms behind us. So when you cross your arms, let's take the right arm below. Sit up nice and tall. Stay grounded on your seat with your eyes nestled shut. Notice when you extend the spine, how it affects the hips. Notice when you cross your arms behind your back, how it affects your shoulders, your heart center. Now drape the right hand down to the floor. And you're going to slide your left hand or wiggle it up a little bit higher, perhaps towards your mid-back. The right hand can stay propped beside you to help to maintain some good posture. Hold 3 more breaths. And then you can release that arm. And we'll extend both legs out in front of us. Kind of shimmy the knees a little bit. And then we'll take the left foot over. Half shoelace. Arms radiate upward. Exhale, pour downward. Now be here. So going back to the new energy that's kind of coming in, that's going to motivate us to maybe initiate something new or to have courage to be a little bit more maybe authentic to your true self. We're working into the back of the legs that propel us into action. So consider shedding away any insecurities. Our insecurities typically stem from the first 2 chakras, what we're working with now. Same idea here that we did before. If you slowly realign the vertebrae, just go ahead and lean to the right with your hands on your hip. That foot can slide in, and then you can come back down to that left sit bone. You can heel toe that left foot on over if it's having trouble. And the arms will crisscross behind the back with the left arm beneath. Shoulders drop away from the ears. Remember, breath control leads to sensory control, which leads to deeper, concentrated states of mind. So stay concentrated in the here and now. One thing, one object at a time. We'll take this a little bit deeper. So go ahead and take your left hand to the floor. This is my tough side. I cannot really move much at all on the second side, but I moved it just enough to feel it a little bit more in the shoulder. So maybe just rolling the right shoulder back or winging that elbow open if you can't get the hand up any higher. And breathe into it. Wash any tightness or tension away. If it feels muddy or sticky, imagine that clean, fresh water is clearing it out. Now gently release that arm. Once you release that arm, we'll bring the soles of the feet together. And just kind of flap the wings here a moment. 3, 2, 1. All right. Take the handhold to the shins and pour down. So I have the tendency to go down with a straight back, but in yin, we round. So you want to initially start with a straight back, but then once you're a portion of the way down, you start to round it out. So yin is based on the feminine nature, and think of curves with the feminine. Whereas with the masculine, it's the more masculine energy is represented by more straight edge lines. Obviously, we know there's benefit to masculine as well as feminine energy, masculine and feminine ideas, masculine and feminine qualities. Inhale it slowly start to come up. And I hope, okay, you don't have to use a blanket and a bolster. I meant to tell you a blanket too. If you don't have that, it's okay. So we haven't done this pose in a while. And the cross is actually one of the ancient symbols that I brought up in my Sacred Symbols workshop earlier this week. The cross actually predates Christianity. And there is, we did an active cross, which is actually a difficult pose, but there's a restorative cross pose that I thought we could do today. Since Yin rounds us down so much, I thought it would be nice to end really opening the front of the body. The way cross looks, and again, if you just have a bolster, just use the bolster. If you have a blanket, the blanket will fold long ways in half. That almost looks like a bolster. And you're going to place it on the bottom across the mat. And then the bolster will create a plus sign or the cross symbol. Well, not really cross, more of a plus sign. But that's where it gets its name. And then what we do, and again, if you just have a bolster, just use it. We actually sit on the bolster. And it's not restorative bridge where the shoulders and the head is on the floor. The shoulders actually line up on the bolster, and then the back of the head tips down to the ground. And you may have to play around with, maybe scooting back a little or scooting forward a little to get that just right position where you don't feel like your shoulders are hiking up towards your face, where they can still relax down. Your palms can spin open. And if it causes any trouble for your low back, generally speaking, bending the knees usually takes it away. And if it's just showing up on one side, you may just want to bend a singular knee. I love this pose, and I'm so glad I remembered it because we have so many. Oftentimes, you do forget some of the poses that exist. While you're in it, close the eyes. And instead of focusing on guided imagery that I often do, instead of even paying attention to your breath, just see if you can get the body comfortable enough so that you can really and truly drop in to yourself and into the now. And when you do that, set your drishti towards the third eye, the midpoint of your brow, and just dwell and steep in stillness and in silence. Gift yourself this. Gazing into the mind's eye will help to ensure that you're not falling asleep. And try to become entranced in the space between thoughts.
Om, Om, Om. From hearing and seeing Om, take a moment just to enliven your breath. Once you take deeper sips of breath, you can begin to operate your hands and feet. Feel at liberty to bend the knees and to just roll away to one side. Go ahead and come up to take a seat, sitting on your cushion. Dharana is concentration. Dhyana is sustained concentration or the absorption of your focus, which is meditation. And then being in that space, connecting to your bliss, feeling liberated and at peace is samadhi. Bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. May we all use this series as a refresher of the 8-limb path. May we be reminded of the highest form of yoga, the peak, which is meditation and samadhi. May we benefit from this practice, and may the ripple effects of this practice continue to contribute to the collective. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.